You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona, and with me always are my good friends.
Happy New Year from the hills of Texas.
And this is Aching Leg in Texas.
Oh my gosh, he's always got something. So welcome to 2022. This is our seventh season. I know, right? And we're happy to have you. Thank you very much for joining us. We are excited for the new year. It's not too long before we get, the Electric Festival's coming up. But before we get too excited about the new year, how about a word from our sponsors?
"3D Aeroventures, adding fun to the RC hobby, one layer at a time."
Feeling weak and powerless? Sounds to me like you need A-Power batteries. When someone needs the best, they always choose the A-Team. A-Power batteries. Get on the web and get yours today.
And we're back to the Park Flyer Podcast. Those of you joining us on the podcast, we appreciate you. And for those of you joining us on YouTube, hopefully this will be a better video. We have been struggling with this being old guys. The YouTube channel thing is not our forte. But Jay has been taking a lot of effort to put the videos together, and hopefully this, with the new shop, and I got new internet, and hopefully all this will get put together where it's easier to get us onto the YouTubers. So anyway, thank you for joining. Thank you for doing all the work, Jay. We appreciate it.
Well, this whole interweb stuff and this whole taking pictures, it's a bit much for old timers like us.
I know that's one of those things. Well, it's new technology for us. I think I was getting an email from Jay earlier that said that we can now post our videos to Facebook, so that's probably positive as well. We can, put them on our Facebook page. So that's.
I don't know if you really want to do that.
Didn't they just change their name? It's Meta or something now?
Yeah, Meta. Yeah. Still says it's still Facebook.com where I go to. So.
Yeah, still me too. So. But anyway. Well, we had, I guess the video last time didn't work out. There was so much of a lag, it was very difficult to kind of get everybody together. But one of our listeners, Jim, he said that he was all disappointed because I was pointing to stuff in my new shop. But you can see behind me that I took the jet down and put our Park Flyer Podcast J3 Cub up there on the table for this episode. So it's kind of cool. My computer sits at the very end of my workbench, and you can kind of see what I'm working on in the background. So hopefully this year, as we get a little bit more into this YouTube deal, we can do some videos. I think the guys are coming out the first week in February, and we'll be able to kind of set some cameras up and do some work on airplanes that need work. Which I don't have a lot of those, but I do have.
It's okay, Jim, though, because we couldn't see it either.
You couldn't see what either? My shop?
Well, when you were pointing to different things, to the Christmas one.
That's true. Yeah, there was so much lag on my side. You were like, I don't know what he just pointed at, but yeah, it was pretty sad. Well, we are looking at a new year, and we are excited. I think 2021 was one of those years that was very difficult for all of us, and I'm looking back at survived. It was a full year for me in December. Our Christmas episode would have been a full year for me getting out of the COVID hospital. So this year I'm feeling healthy, and all my stuff is out of storage, and I'm ready to go fly. and see the guys and actually start working on stuff. And I think we've got some new projects out in the garage that you guys we had. So Mike, we had we bought a pallet full of airplanes at some point, I think. And Mike made a trip up to Alaska and got us some really cool planes, and they've been sitting in my storage unit for the last year, as the guys didn't get to take them home. So this year, I think they will be able to make it to their rightful owners, and then you guys will have projects to work on as well. So,
I think I got. Did I get all mine, or is there some one or two more? Oh, okay, one or two more. Okay.
I think there's a couple of little foamies.
No, I thought we sold mine. There's a couple foamies. You're right. There's a couple foamies.
So we basically had so many airplanes that we couldn't divide them all up, and so we took some to Electric Festival last year and unloaded some of them to help pay for the shipping to get them down here. But we set several aside for you. You probably have 3 or 4 ready to go. I think there's a Cessna or something in there, a couple of foam airplanes with their old Hacker models, the little flat profile ones.
Well, there would be ones that would take 2,200 or less, probably better.
That is correct.
There's a theme.
That would be correct. So, yeah, it's one of those things that, Mike always looks at 2,200 or less, so we put those aside. Jay and I took the big 6L ones, and we got that going for us.
Of course, now that I have a paramotor battery too, I can use the 4-cell 5000. Anything that's 4-cell 5000, I'm good with that too.
That's true.
That will work on my paramotor as well.
Yeah. Well, now that you got that dual thing going. And what were you saying, Jay?
No, I was going to say that a few of those planes that we got from Alaska can be more than just a 6-cell. There's a couple in there you could probably make 8, 10, 12 cells. So,
very
and
cool.
Since it's from Jeff,
yep,
it's probably I'd say you'd want to do that.
Yeah, maybe
definitely.
So. Maybe so.
I mean, just think of like that. Remember the Honda Jet that we sold? That was one of them. I mean, that one could easily take 2 8-cells to power it or greater.
If you converted that one to the EDFs, I think you could use that many. But originally it came with like propeller motors.
Yeah, it came with propeller motors, but I mean that was a big honking model.
Yeah,
I'm sure you could do it with 6, but probably that one would be more comfortable cruising with 2 8s on it.
Yeah, possibly. That could possibly be.
So I wonder if the guy who bought that is going to be flying it.
I'd say no.
Why?
Just from what I remember from the guy. I mean, he did know how to fly RC. He just had known the guy who had that actual jet, so he bought it. So either it's going to be hanging from a ceiling or it's going to be sitting in the box until he gets somebody to build it for him.
Well, from what I understand, the guy that bought it either knew the guy that designed. He knew somebody on either the design team for Honda Jet, or he knew,
or like the jet itself, like the jet engine that was in it. Maybe that sounds right.
Yeah. Somebody did something, but he wanted it as a I agree with Jay. I don't think he was really going to fly it, but I think he was going to give it to his friend because it was a model of a Honda Jet. This guy had either retired or was working on it or something of that sort. So it's kind of strange. Which it reminded me of it because the other day I was flying over Christmas. I was flying into Las Vegas, and when we landed in Vegas, a Honda Jet was out there too. It landed right behind me, so that was kind of cool. Very rarely do you see those things flying around. There's not a whole bunch of them, but when you do see them, it's kind of cool. I was like, hey, that's a Honda Jet. I've seen those. So it was kind of cool to see one in person. So, well, did you guys make any New Year's resolutions? Anything?
I didn't hear what you said, so try that again.
Did you make any New Year's resolutions?
I resolved to not make resolutions.
All right, there you go.
I'm going to try.
I've been very successful so far.
Good.
And I'm going to try not to get any of the viruses, especially the new Autobot, one that's out.
The Autobot?
Autobot?
The Omicron.
Oh, right.
I don't want that variant.
Yeah.
I heard it goes right through you.
Yeah. This is true. Very, very true. Well, let's see, Jay. What did you do this week? Anything?
Let's see. Well, unfortunately, this week the weather actually changed. So the week before, when I was flying with Jim and having some fun, our weather was in the 70s to 80s. And just a few days ago, everything changed, and actually winter actually showed up in Texas. So to give you an example, it was 75 degrees for the high, and then that night it went to 25 degrees. So that kind of, not to say that you can't go out. I mean, our limit up in Alaska was pretty much, 32 degrees, Mike? That's pretty much when we stopped flying. But, yeah, it kind of sucked all the wind out of going out, having to put on a parka or put on a jacket. Just kind of took all the fun out of it for me. I've gotten soft.
Kind of a drag. It's actually been raining here in Arizona, so I haven't really had a chance to go out either because it's just been low clouds, cold and rainy.
Well, that and you've been
getting a bunch of rain.
What's that?
I said, and unfortunately, you've had to work. They actually made you work.
They did make me work. That's true. What were you saying, Mike?
Oh, I was just saying you've had a lot of rain within the last couple of weeks. It seems like it's unusual, isn't it?
For this time of the year, not really. The Arizona goes through that kind of that winter change. We have a smaller winter, but Jay's been actually up here. Or I've sent pictures to Jay when it actually snowed up where I live. So we're kind of in that little area where it snowed on the first one year, and another time it snowed like in February. So first week in February. So hopefully it doesn't happen to us with the Electric Festival coming up that first week. I hope it doesn't snow on us. But the weather.
Yeah, that would kind of suck if I have to actually shovel the runway. Haven't done that in a long time. I got to do it in Arizona. Man, that's just putting insult to injury.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, well, Jay, you were sending some stuff around. Seems like we have a problem with the FAA again. Why don't you bring us up to speed with kind of what you did you send us something on the FAA?
If you guys remember, I think we ended up, 2 podcasts ago, we were talking about, oh my gosh, now I'm having a brain fart. They own a company. I'm going to have a brain fart on this. Well, basically one of our RC companies had brought up to the FAA a lawsuit on the remote ID stuff, and they actually had their first hearing. And so it wasn't that they made a decision or they made a groundbreaking anything on it. They were basically just discussing the cases, bringing their points forth, and they actually got to be heard by the courts on why they were having a problem with what the FAA was doing. So it's not that like I said, anything monumental happened. It's just now that the case it's starting to go. New year, or right before the year ended, actually, they got in. They were able to basically explain why they felt that that the FAA was putting the thumb on the little man, and that they need to modify, do away with, or do something different with remote ID. In the nutshell, that I remember.
Yeah, so Race Day Quads is the company
Race
you're
Day
talking
Quads,
about?
thank you.
And they filed a lawsuit back in April. And I think you were talking about oral arguments were due on the 15th of December. So they have had the oral arguments, and I think they're waiting for the court to publish their opinion. we're not really sure. Sometimes those opinions can take up to 85 to 100 days, but sometimes they can take as little as 9 days, but up to 75 to 80 days or so. If you go to let's see, what is the name of that website? It's a drone law and drone attorney assistance. It's a FAA lawsuit challenge. They can give you a background and some stuff that who has kind of done everything. I mean, quads are one of those things that everybody's flying them around. You can buy them at this, at Walmart for crying out loud, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing with them. But it does affect those of us that are, at the clubs or, flying RC type airplanes. So I'm kind of pulling for these guys to come through and, get the courts to side on them that, this remote ID thing is going to be very expensive and cost a lot of money for hobbyists to go out there and try to do it. I mean,
so to me, there were two interesting points that came out of that conversation. And I don't know if I'll be able to articulate them properly. I might even get them wrong. But basically, the one point was, okay, well, you have this this tracking announcement that goes on from your plane through your transmitter. Well, you could be indoors in your house flying, and they're going to track that, which is inside private space. It's your personal property, and so shouldn't be tracked. And also, if you're flying below the tree line, again, another thing that's considered private property and not part of the space. And the FAA was trying to say, as far as I could tell, they were trying to say, well, that's a special case and doesn't apply for most of the thing. But the judges that were talking to them seemed to question that as, hey, that can't really be a special case because it's unconstitutional. And don't know if they really said those words, but that was the basic idea that I got out of it. And the second piece that I got out of it that wasn't really said, but is what I walked away with, was they can track you and gather information about you, but if you can't appeal it if they're not using it as an action against you.
Right.
So in other words, as long as they don't have some action against you, they can gather this data and they can use it for whatever means they feel necessary. Which is the idea that why they don't need a search warrant, as I think there was a Fourth Amendment issue, illegal search and seizure or something, and so the FAA guy said, well, yeah, that'd be true, but there's no action, so it's not really a search and seizure type of a situation. They're just collecting data. And so I felt like they kind of glossed over that little. I thought it was a hole, and I felt like they kind of glossed over that because the judges were not talking about it, and I don't know if they missed it or if they were purposely ignoring it for the moment, for some future conversation maybe, or like don't address stuff that you don't want to have to deal with, right? So you don't bring it up.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do end up coming back with if those two things are true. Again, I'm no lawyer. I don't even play one on TV, and so I couldn't say that this is I'm no Perry Mason about this stuff. But it just, to me, when I was listening to them talk, they were doing a lot of skirting around what I felt were pretty important issues, but they weren't there to talk about those issues. They were there to talk about. The FAA guy kept redirecting to say, yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're really just talking about the rulemaking that's happening. And so they kept redirecting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right, and that makes sense because, that happened before, like in the real aircraft world, is that they did the notice of proposed rulemaking. When people started complaining about it, they started talking about just the one item. They didn't address all of them. And now some of them have come back to, kind of bite us. And I think that's typical, of government entities that they say, well, that doesn't really apply to us right at the moment. So why do we need to discuss it? But in
I might
reality,
refer to that
it's
as
gonna
purposeful
apply to us
unintended
later.
consequences.
Exactly. And we see that now. So I mean, I agree that they're trying to say that that this has outgrown the proposed rule. That the proposed rule was one thing, and then now we're on to something else. And they're saying that no, that's not the the story. And I think there's some confusion in their eyes about what we're trying to do, or what our hobby would try to do versus what the FAA is trying to do. And if they can keep that disconnect, then I think that it confuses. The judges have to make this decision, like, hey, what is it that they're doing versus what are y'all trying to do, right? I mean, they're looking at it as from two sides, and it doesn't really sound. I think the Race Day Quads did a good job. Their attorney did a good job talking about how that's the Fourth Amendment, this privacy thing, but the government attorneys basically said no, it's none of that.
Right. Well, and it's important for the judges. What I got out of it was the judges were asking questions to get some definitions. Because there are none. They, once again, if you're talking about your rights or something like that, hey, they're well versed in that. But when you're all of a sudden you're talking about this remote ID thing, and well, how does that have to do with your rights? Oh, well, it's kind of like your phone. Can the police just search your phone, or if the phone happens to be open, can they still just look through it because you didn't lock it? Could they take your finger and put it on the on your finger, your finger ID tool on your phone, and it unlocks, and then they can search it? Do they have to get a warrant before they do that? It's just things like that were never quite, they're not quite answered, that they want to get definitions as to, as opposed to if you just had a passcode. Well, they can't force you to give a passcode, but if you have facial recognition or your fingerprint, they can, put the phone up in front of your face, and all of a sudden it comes on. Well, the phone was open, so I can look through it. Things like that. So I think with this, it's, the FAA, they just want to be able to get the signal, know where it's coming from, or from what drone or aircraft it's from, and record it. Well, is that taking my rights away because they're able to search my stuff? Or is it the same as on your car having a license plate? By this thing transmitting instead of having a license plate. This is like, license plates for planes. So them getting that information, they're not taking your rights away by getting that information. But like you were saying, if they're collecting that information and tracking where you were flying, and therefore you flew over a national park or you flew near this site, that they could go, well, now we can charge you with something, or now, you're a suspicion of breaking the law. Well, I didn't realize I was that close. I didn't intend for that to happen. And now I'm, being fined by the FAA. I thought they just wanted to track who was flying, this device or whatever. So, it just can snowball. And I just think that the judges were just asking some, important questions as to what they were trying to do. What does this mean? What were you going to do with this? To get a kind of a basis so they could sit back later and discuss this kind of stuff. At least that's how I kind of took it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the lawsuit is just that the limited remote ID violates the Fourth Amendment. So that they're trying to look at the Fourth Amendment and trying to focus, I think, on that particular part of it, because, they're basically saying that all this information that the FAA can gather violates the Fourth Amendment. And the FAA is like, no, it doesn't violate the Fourth Amendment. We're able to do all this other stuff. But and we talked about all that stuff before, but I think that there were a lot of things that people asked about that the FAA just basically ignored, and then just said, oh, we're going to do this anyway. So I think that's where they're actually going.
You remind me of something else too, Mike. When they were talking about, the ID that's been transmitted is sort of anonymized for me, and so they don't know it's me at the time of transmission. So any Joe who might be able to pick up the transmission won't be able to know that it's me. However, my perspective on that is that ID doesn't change. So once I'm flying, then that ID is obviously mine. Also,
Right.
since I'm flying in the similar areas all the time, it might be easily identifiable through repeated use, where it's like, oh, that's got to be Mike because he's flying out of his house. It couldn't be anybody else, and
Right.
things like that. And so, but I think that the FAA guy was able to confuse the judges enough to make them believe that there's no, it's anonymized, you can't tell. But they didn't really think past the idea that says, well, if you have 1,000 points of me flying in a particular area and you map that against my house, it's not hard because Google gives public data, and
Right.
you have access to all the public data that could correlate. So it wouldn't take much for someone to correlate that, even whether it's a private citizen or a government agency like a police force or whatever, to be able to decide. The Phoenix police force decides that they're going to go and start implementing their own enforcement because they can make money off of it now because I'm flying in areas I'm not supposed to be flying in, right? Because you're violating some kind of law within Phoenix or whatever.
Right, and we discussed that in one of our just recent past episodes about that starting to happen.
Sure. Right. I'm just saying though that I'm just bringing it back around to this other conversation that says says.
Well, and they refuse to basically address any of that too. I mean, that's when you're going after the violation of the Fourth Amendment. The FAA basically kept redirecting, I think, to that. Well, we're not violating it. Yeah, but you have all this list of stuff over here. Yeah, but that doesn't violate. We're not to that point yet, right?
We're just rulemaking. We're not actually causing an action to take place. We're just rulemaking.
But I think that's really kind of what was confusing the judges a little bit, is that they kept bringing up this stuff, but then at the same time they're like, oh, well, we're sticking with the Fourth Amendment. That's really what the argument is, that it violates the Fourth. And they've already found that some of the remote ID stuff was unconstitutional before, and they're just saying basically pushing that by the wayside and then building on top of it. And I don't know. I totally understand that there has to be some sort of a regulatory compliance. Otherwise, people can, do nefarious things with these types of activities. And what was it the other day? Somebody sent me something, and I kid you not, I just shook my head because it was an advertisement. It was either advertisement or article on remote. Like bombs, not bombs, but what were they? They were, gosh, I'm having a whole brain hemorrhage here. They were little darts. That's what they were. They were darts that hung from the bottom of the quad.
Oh, from the quads. Yeah.
And they were heavy, right? And so you could fly it over something and then drop it. And it actually, if you were high enough, that thing, and it was heavy enough, once it reached terminal velocity, it could be deadly if it hit somebody in the head or if it hit some, something.
Yeah, they were using it over either in Israel or Gaza or somewhere like that.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, great. That's something that you could create right here behind me in my shop. Just be like, oh, I could put 2 and 2 or 3 things together and, clip it to the bottom of one and go fly it. And so I think that, and one side of me says, okay, well, there should be somebody that looks at that and says, okay, this really isn't smart. You shouldn't do this. But at the same time, somebody on the other end of this is going to go, well, why not? It's America. I can do whatever I want, right? So it's kind of a odd position to be in for me, because I'm in a regulated world on the other side of that. Why?
No, you were saying here.
I'm shaking my head at Jay for heck yeah, it's America. We can do whatever we want.
Well, I know this is America, right? I mean, you should be able to, but at the same time, I think in the interest of public safety, I don't think it's right. I mean, if I wanted to go out behind the house and drop little darts on the property all day long, nobody should bother me about it. But at some point, somebody's going to take that somewhere else, and cause problems with it. We know for a fact that happens, right? There's always somebody. I mean, everybody should go out and fly at their club, and yet, Jay and I what did we call it? Pirating or go fly out at the Walmart parking lot or wherever.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But it happens, and so it'll be interesting to see how this lawsuit actually, comes out. I'm pulling for the drone guys because I think that there needs to be some review or somebody that needs to look at these proposed rulemaking, and you can't just say, okay, this is what we're proposing, and then have 60 million comments come across and then ignore every one of them and just go, okay, here it is. And I don't think that's right either. What's really, and I understand their position, but what's really kind of shocking to me is that the AMA has kind of stayed out of the whole thing.
Yeah, a little bit, but before we go to that, I was just thinking about this whole dilemma, and part of this, once again, here it is. It's before the Supreme Court about a ruling or rulemaking change that the FAA is doing, and once again, not to say that the FAA shouldn't be in this position, because who makes the rules or decides on what rulemaking is supposed to be done? That's supposed to be done by Congress. If I am I thinking correctly, right? Congress comes up, FAA says, hey, we should do X, Y, Z, or Congress goes, hey, we should put in a new radar system throughout the country. FAA may review it, come up with ideas, say, okay, we're going to do X, Y, Z. Then Congress goes, does everything, does that stuff about, is it going to break any of these rules, break any constitutional things, does their business, they come back, they vote on it, they consult again with the FAA, so that the FAA doesn't turn around and have to sit before Congress being sued by a private citizen saying, hey, these guys made this rulemaking and they violated my rights. And the FAA was like, hey, we just changed this rule just that you had to do this instead of this. We weren't trying to break like you said, we weren't trying to break the Fourth Amendment. That doesn't break your Fourth Amendment. Well, what do you guys know about the Fourth Amendment? I don't know. But, all we care about is making sure the planes fly safely. Well, that's why you shouldn't make rules, because you're not rule makers. That's my point, right? They shouldn't. They should be talking to people who are on the committee in Congress about this, with the FAA representative there to give some other additional information. I don't know.
Well, I think you have some of that correct. The notice of proposed rulemaking, when you have a body like the FAA, they are able to make rules. There are certain things that they can't change without the going to Congress and having them change. Part of that is the $5 for registering your airplane. That actually was set up by Congress.
Right.
They can't change that. They can't just say, we want to change it. They have to go back to Congress because it's a funding thing. So, the proposed rulemaking, they've done that for a long time, where they change rules or say, hey, we want to change the airspace. That was a good one that happened not too, many, many years ago, but wasn't too far back in the, in the past, where they said, hey, we want to change the names of what we consider, the airspace, and they went to an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or no F, but G. And that was new to us as pilots. We had to, look at it, and they signed it off, and then they said, okay, here you go. And we all had to learn new airspaces. But it made things a little bit easier because, now you had A space or B space or C space that were, a little bit more defined, and they were the same as what we had last time. It was just the names changed. So I understand when that happens. But when you take something that has never existed and you try to regulate that, or, like drones, they're just relatively new in the last, few years, right? I mean, at least the last 5 or 10. And now that we've gotten, bigger, better, and racing quads, and now we've got this FPV thing, and now the FCC is looking at stuff. So I think at that point, and then you have, these commercial companies that want to use drones as delivery vehicles. I think that you've got this perfect storm, right? You've got commercialized drone companies wanting space. You've got the FAA wanting to regulate the space. You have hobbyists like us that also want space. And then how do you get to where everybody can share this space equally? And I don't necessarily know that the FAA has done a perfect job at trying to get everybody together and come up with this, because if it was me in charge, I would have got the commercial guys, the hobby guys, professional guys, put them all in a room, a couple of regulators, and say, okay, we got to come up with an idea. And I don't know, maybe they did that. I highly doubt it, but it sounds to me like they kind of just said, look, we'll get in a room, create stuff because we're the experts and this is what we want to do. And then they kind of let it go from there. But our listeners can correct me if I'm wrong. Unless you know something I don't, Jay or Mike. I mean,
no.
Yeah, I don't think it happened that way. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But somebody can correct me later if they want to. But that's when you run into these things, is that you have someone that everybody wants their process first, right? I mean, as a hobbyist, I'm like, hey, don't take all my rights away from me. Don't use it in such a manner that it could come back. It's a hobby for me, right? It's not like it's my commercial business. I just do it for fun. But the commercial guy on the same boat is like, hey, I'm spending $50,000 on a vehicle that can deliver a package and save me hundreds of millions of dollars a year in delivery costs. That's pretty important to him as well. So the two of us should be able to come to some sort of an agreement, right? I won't fly in your space, you don't fly in my space. It's a big world, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that seemed to be the way everybody wanted to work. They all wanted my way or the highway kind of thing, and that's never a good thing.
I was thinking, if we eventually get to the moon, and I won't have to use 2200s anymore. I could probably use like an 800, and then I could fly there, and I won't have to worry about all the other stuff too. I mean, we'll have to worry about spaceships and stuff, I guess, but
maybe
hopefully they'll figure out the whole frequency
interstellar
thing by the time we get up there. What's that?
Is there a lot of interstellar traffic you got to worry about?
I imagine at some point you might have to deal with, satellites whizzing by the moon. I don't know. It could be the dune worm comes out of the earth. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure. Guys like Elon would know the answer to this. I don't. Maybe we can get him on the show and interview him about it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I wonder. Maybe we could get somebody that has been on the moon to tell us if a drone or an airplane would fly. Jay,
or somebody who's in the movie Dune who could maybe talk to us about what they know.
That's right.
Well, I know they've played golf on the moon, but I don't think they've flown an RC plane yet. So
No. I know they hit a golf ball. I don't know if they actually played a whole 18 holes.
Not 18. I'm just saying they played.
Are you kidding me? If I played on the moon, I could actually get the ball to the hole at some point.
Maybe, or past the hole.
It'd probably be harder than you think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'd probably go by it instead of never getting to it. I'd probably go right by it. Yeah,
exactly.
If you had a slice, it would come back around the other side and try to get the hole.
Yeah, that would be the best hole-in-one ever, right? You slice it around, it came back in.
Yeah.
That would
if you're
be
really
great.
good, the thing you'd have to worry about is if you were going to make orbital escape velocity every time you're hitting the ball. If you get a good hit, you just got to keep it subpar so it doesn't go.
But then you could do cool things like set up ricochet shots, because then you just have like little pads that are stuck up in the air that you just are ricocheting the ball around, because you don't have to worry about friction and whatnot.
It's true.
Yeah. So if we ever get to the moon, first thing we're going to do is design a putt-putt golf course. I think that would be great.
Gotcha.
The windmill thing is just going to zing your ball into the air after it hits it.
How about the little clown that spits it back out at you and it comes at terminal velocity straight out?
Right
so guys, since we're here at the new year, what new projects do you want to work on this year?
Okay, I'm going to work on two things. This is not a resolution though, so don't hold me to it. But there's two things that I remember. I'm trying not to have resolution this year, but there's two things I really want to try to work on, and that is I'd really like to put together some 3D printing parts for the X-Jet so I can build that thing and make it actually fly. I made an attempt, and I wasn't any good at it, but I've grown in my skill sets in a lot of different areas. And so I think I could probably make that work and build the parts I need to have that, be level. The biggest challenge is making those rods level and making it all work with the software and stuff. And then the other thing would be that I would get a memory that I could keep the first thing I forgot already.
Wow, man! I thought old age was hurting me, but wow, that's pretty bad. Well, you are the oldest, so
That's true. He is.
you might have to put Mike in a home.
Yeah, maybe.
Eh?
He never.
I'm in the home already. What are you talking about?
He's in his own home.
Oh, yeah.
Whippersnappers
I see.
With your hip hop music,
I know, right?
hippity hoppity music. Get them on.
As far as me, Jay, I think I've got the Baja Hobbies L39 that I'm going to try and build. I've got parts already, on its way. I'm waiting on a few things to arrive in the mail. And then I have the Sparrow as well that I picked up at Best in the West. So those two, I think, are on the forefront. We're going to try and get those done for the Electric Festival. I want to make sure that my L39 and my E10 are up to speed. And I do have a new Cessna 550, I think, that's out there that I kind of wound up keeping. And so I may put that together too.
I remembered what it was. I want to build that. I like the idea of that plane that had the LiDAR on the wing tips that you talked about, Jay,
Oh yeah.
at some point. I don't know if we showed it on the podcast or not, but it was
No, we did not.
pretty cool. I think, wasn't it a Delta Wing sort of looking plane?
Yeah, I do believe so.
Yeah, and it was a lot like the Polaris from my viewpoint in that the wing shape and the way it was formed. Although I don't think it had a rudder or anything like that. But then it had these sort of pontoon type things, and they made it fly above the water using the LiDAR sensors. And I think doing something with those sensors and understanding how LiDAR works, so that I might use it in other planes for other reasons of crash avoidance, whatever. I think that would be cool stuff to learn.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Gotcha. Oh, that'd be pretty neat. And I think for myself, I think I want to complete a project per month type of thing. And what I mean by, as you can see, the whole rack of half-finished planes, I am terrible.
Let's go with once a quarter, Jay.
Let's
just start easy.
Should start.
Yeah.
Once a quarter, or maybe just one. Maybe just one this year.
Well,
Just pick one of those from your back shelf back there and just start on that.
well, I'm just saying, there's a bunch of plane projects that I've started with Mike or with Mike, whichever Mike, that I got 3/4 of the way through and then squirrel,
Yeah,
started
just don't
another
trap
project.
yourself. I'm saying that's all I'm saying. Don't trap yourself to one a month.
One a
Just,
month, no?
Like Mike
Start
said, just pick one and focus on it till you complete it.
Okay.
Squirrels or not. I mean, if we have to get you little rolly cages so the squirrels can run in those while you're working on the plane, we'll do that. We'll do it whatever it
I was
takes.
thinking maybe one of those little
to get
shock
the-
collars as I'm, doot. Oh, hey.
Or I think there's medicine you can take that helps you focus. That's a good idea, shock collars. And you know what? I think we could make that work because we'll just give your wife the controller for that, and she'll be able to.
That may be not be very beneficial because then she'd have me doing other
What?
things
No, I think it
other
would
than
work out for
working on
both of you.
planes.
She would get enjoyment. You would stay focused. I think it would work out.
Yeah, that wouldn't
Yeah,
help
I don't
us
know
any,
if it's
though, because I wouldn't be
focused.
getting planes done. I'd be getting other things done.
No. Yes. I agree.
Oh, I see. Well, no, she would have to. The only reason she could have the controller is because of this particular thing. I mean, she could use it for other things too, but she'd have to agree that,
This was the main focus.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, I don't.
Let me talk to her about it. Let me see what I can come up with.
I,
Maybe we can
all I
work
see
out a
is
deal.
failure in that. I don't know. What did you just say? The what'd you say? Consequences.
I said purposeful unintended consequences.
That's what I feel from that suggestion. We give my wife that power. Bad.
Yeah, I second that. I've known her long enough. I second that emotion.
I think she's a reasonable lady. I think she would,
didn't say
find
she
a
wasn't.
way
I
to the
didn't
middle.
say she wasn't.
reasonable.
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Do you have the shot collar on now? Is that why you're saying she's not unreasonable?
No.
As his hair stands up. Literally has
Nick's
left.
nay on the wife A.
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh man.
Well, gotta love them. So I think that our spouses have been very, very supportive over many, many years, haven't they, Jay?
So
Haven't
true,
had-
so true.
Haven't had too many complaints, and she just shakes her head when she sees stuff. So
Oh, she complains. It's just not to you.
Yeah, so she complains to me and Jay, but
What are you
we don't talk
talking
about
about?
it.
The conversations we have.
that's true.
I think
Well,
I've talked
if
her off the
you
ledge a
had to
couple
decide,
times,
Jay-
maybe two,
That's
three
right.
times since I've
It's
known her.
okay. You'll be
Right.
fine.
So if you look behind you, Jay, and you had to decide what project to start on, what would it be? I mean, there's a ton of them back there, but if you just had to pick one, what would it be?
I'll give you for example. I have a little ugly stick sitting back there. It just needs a couple of things just to strengthen up the body, and it's ready to go. But I'm thinking like things like that. But then again, we have my feather over here that you and I were working on. My little feather hand launched glider that needs to be finished up. Things like that. They're 3/4 of the way done. Just a little focus time, knock it out, finish it up. So that's what I'm talking about. Finishing up some planes. But like my Telemaster that's sitting there, that's another one that'd be neat to do. But the only reason I haven't really started working on that one was I kind of had grand ideas of what I wanted to do with it, because I wanted to turn it into this bitchin' night plane. So I wanted to put, cram 1,000 LEDs on it and some other things. And then I watched this cool video. I think AK Mike had sent something out one time, and it had to deal with using LEDs and turning it into like a little movie screen and some other things that you could do with them now that you could have the programmable LEDs, and how guys were taking Arduino boards and, making these little screens out of regular LEDs, little crude, little screens. And I thought that'd be kind of cool with something on a big wing. If you put all these LED screens on it, you could display a movie on the thing, or, moving pictures or something. I thought that'd be kind of cool to be flying a plane.
I told you
displaying
he'd get
something
around to blaming me for all his foibles.
Yep, and
So,
he did
you know.
too, right? He did it right there.
So that, unfortunately, that's where I'm really bad. I get these ideas, and then I don't do something because I'm wondering how to do the ultimate thing. And in the meantime, I don't even get to fly the plane. I could have built the plane and been flying it, So that type of stuff. I just
Well,
gotta get over that.
I will say that out of all of those projects, the one I think that would benefit the most, that would probably be the easiest to do, is your Cherokee, because you had so much fun flying that one, and right up until its demise. And I think you have all the parts for it already. And if you just took some time and got it put back together, you could be out flying that thing and having a good old time with it again.
That's true. I always say that my favorite plane to fly is the one that I'm flying, because that's kind of how it works with me.
But that, you flew that Cherokee a lot. I mean, it was a fun flyer, and it was
I did.
fast, and it was big, and and I think, after when you found this one, I mean, it's been sitting there ready to go. We
It's buried.
just need to
Yeah, it's
put
buried in that pile.
servos in it. Yeah, but I mean, a
Yep,
couple
yep.
servos.
Just got to dig out all the parts and just put it
You
back.
have all the
So-
other stuff.
Yep,
You have
sure do.
everything.
You just got to make sure you have enough amperage in the ESC to feed the servos, so that when you're moving all the sticks at the same time, or the flaps are down and you're running around, you don't lose the amperage, so that you if I remember right, is
I'm
what
not sure
happened.
if it browned out or just, just lost signal.
Well, I think we checked. In fact, I think we checked it afterwards. We put a meter on it, and we moved all the servos at once, and we saw that sucker brown out.
Yeah.
Maybe you need one of those external BECs.
Well, he did. He had what was needed. It just wasn't a high enough amp. Like it was perfect for well-working servos. As soon as one of them jammed up or had some kind of issue and overamped, then it lost the power it needed.
So is that a battery thing, or is it a?
It's a draw.
How big was your
It's a draw.
BEC?
It's an amperage draw.
Right, but if you had a 20 amp BEC, you shouldn't overamp.
Oh no, it was like an 8 amp or
something. Don't do that. Get one of those Castle Creations, 10 amp.
Well, but he didn't know at the time, right? It wasn't because the plane had flown beautifully for however long. So there's no reason for him to believe otherwise.
Well, I understand that. Makes sense.
I was young and foolish then.
And you're so much more wise now.
I don't know about that.
That's a nice way to say old. I like it.
Well, we're getting there. Time waits for no man.
Just used.
What about women? Does it wait for women? I mean,
Nope. I don't know.
No, don't.
It's not my expert. It's not my area of expertise, I guess. So,
I have no comment.
well, that sounds like a bunch of good projects that we can do. Are you guys excited about coming out in February? You guys got your calendars marked?
Not really, because it's going to be like in 3 weeks, right? Don't even need to mark the calendar.
Well, I'm just saying. I have my calendar marked, so. But you will be happy to know that I do have 2 locations inside the house that are ready for you guys. Each have separate bedrooms. You don't have to share. And I got all my stuff unpacked. So we're.
Is it inside?
Mine's the closet under the stairs, huh?
You say, is it inside the house?
Yes, it is inside the house. And,
Mine's the closet under the stairs, though, Jay. I mean, it's the closet.
Mike has the Harry Potter closet.
I mean, granted, it's a 10 by 12 closet, but still, it's a closet.
Well, what Mike doesn't understand is I do in the back of my garage. I do have stairs that go up to a.
I do know. I do. I remember looking in that space and thinking, I could sleep here. Like I remember looking at that. I was like,
well, you can't sleep there now. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there.
Well, I get that, but I mean, it was wide enough for my body and certainly tall enough for me to stand up for most of the space. So I could, because if I remember right, that's the stairs that goes to the top of the top of the garage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so, yeah, and so it was plenty high for a guy like my height.
Oh yeah. So. Actually, I think it's got almost a 10-foot ceiling in there, so we did pretty good. Actually, maybe 10 foot, I think. So.
Hey, speaking of which, are you going to have the RV garage all cleaned out when we get there?
The majority, yes, I should. Yes.
So we're going to be
By
able to
the time
fly
you get here. That is correct. Well.
You guys will be able to. I'm going to hit stuff, so
Well, there's not really much to hit, but we could fly like little foamies or little helicopters.
A vapor.
Yeah, like I said, vapors. I'm sure we can come up with something, or something might show up. You never know.
Oh, well, there you go. Something may. The Yak 55s and all those little foamies that we normally fly, we could fly those in there.
You're talking about the microflyers?
We could fly the
UMX.
UMX is in there as well, yeah. Those would work great because I got the Trojan and the Pitts. I think they're both sitting right over here. So yeah.
Isn't one of those? Is that a UMX on your shelf in the top back there? Is it white and black in the bottom?
He's talking about your P-51. It's not a
UMX. No. And I don't know if
it just looks like a UMX because it's so far away.
Yeah. The little one beside it though is one that my buddy Scott got me, and it's a single cell 787. So we might have to test that one out too.
Oh, that would be fun.
No, you need a little bit more room than your because it takes a long time to turn around.
Yeah, I got 20. It's 25 feet, so I mean I got plenty of space to turn around. But
no, I'm saying
we'll
like
have
that.
To check it.
Those things don't turn very well. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because it's just two propellers, and it
yank it bank, man, yank it bank.
It makes that turn. Yeah, it banks. But I've got plenty of space outside. We could try it outside first. But no, I was talking about the UMX stuff. I've got the Pitts S2 or S1, and then the Trojan, And if we have anything else that shows up, we can do that too. So.
That pits is so much fun. It's a ton of fun.
It is a ton of fun. But yeah, everything in there right now is waiting to go into the 3-car garage. I've got a bunch of stuff I'm waiting for the floor to get done. They're going to come out this month here in a week or two and do the garage floor in the 3-car garage, and so then I can move everything that's sitting in the middle of the room over here back over to the 3-car garage. So there should be plenty of room. We made a huge dent in it because it was full of boxes. And we unloaded a bunch of them, so it kind of moved everything to the side so that we have the inside to work with. Well, it's hard to believe our time is already up. This new year looks to be like it's going to be exciting, and I can't wait for you guys to come down. It's kind of seems like it all of a sudden happened really fast. That February is already here. And then it's going to be gone. So we have to kind of hold on this, starting out in a sprint, I think. So, but at least you guys will be here and we'll be able to do some more stuff.
Well, at least this year, if AK Mike has to leave early, he can. Since I'm driving out, he can drive back with me.
That's true.
If I have to leave early, that would mean you would have to start driving, wouldn't you?
That's true too.
No, not at all. It's not quite how it works, but okay.
That's funny.
That's the key. When I get the drive, so due to my schedule. Woohoo!
Yeah.
What I haven't told Mike yet is that I'm going to start working from home. His home.
There you go.
There you go. When I said I was coming out to visit, I didn't say when I was leaving.
Right.
Your wife was like, did I just see Mike? Oh, no, that's not Mike Larson. No.
Well, that's funny. Well, we could put a little office back there, or you can work in here, one of the two. So, it's funny, when we went up to my brother-in-law's house, we took the motorhome up there, and he's a big Clark Griswold fan, and so I told him, I said, his name is Marty. I said, that there's an RV, Marty, and don't get too attached to it because we're taking it with us when we leave here in a month or two. And he about fell out of his chair laughing because he was like, well, good luck with that, It's a month or two. So anyway, yeah, Mike, you're welcome to stay in the motorhome for a month or two if you need to. Maybe set you up in there.
I'll just have to be the one emptying the, do you know what?
Yeah, you don't even have to do that anymore because it's all set up. When it's in the garage, you just it all drains automatically.
Hey, you know what that means?
Set up in there.
We don't even have to go far to go to the bathroom. Just walk around to the RV garage, do our business, and just go back in there and keep working on planes.
I have a bathroom right
There's
here.
a bathroom. Why would you do that?
Why would I want to use the bathroom when he has a dumping station right in the next bay? What are you talking about?
Okay, this is a lot easier than the dumping station. Trust me. I don't want to have to clean up after the dumping station.
What are you talking about? We're gonna be in the garage. I mean, in the RV garage all the time. Why do I want to leave and walk around the corner? You got a big house. I don't want to go that far. All I got to do is pop the thing.
All right.
Take a quick pee, and I'm good.
Okay, well, there you go.
I don't see the problem.
All right. Well,
I can't wait to come.
I bet. So, well, let's see. Our time is officially over, so we're going to see you here in 2 weeks, and we'll be reporting on the Electric Festival as it gets closer and some of the projects. But for now, I'm Michael from Arizona.
I'm Jay from the hills of Texas.
And I'm AK Mike in Texas.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.